let's see how to bisect a segment. To bisect means to cut in half or to take something and make it into two equal halves. And this refers to a segment, of course. So let's draw a segment. And I'm working on graph paper just so we can have an idea of where we think the halfway point might be. So if I go an even number of boxes, let's see, have I done that? I think, okay. So it looks like the halfway point would be right about here. And so what we need to do is use our tools of construction, our compass and our straight edge, and confirm that. So when we're first learning to do this, what we need to do is be very clear about where the endpoints of the segment are. So I have my segment here, and I have clearly marked the endpoints, and what I need next is my compass. And so I've got a marking pen in this compass, and what I need to do now, let me move those aside, is I need to stab the needle end of the compass in at one of my endpoints and open this compass out more than halfway. I don't need to go all the way over to the other end here. I can just open out to more than halfway, and everyone can estimate where the halfway point is. So this is not a big deal. Once I've done this, estimated where more than halfway is, I use my compass to draw a semicircular arc. It doesn't have to be a complete semicircle, but it has to be close. And then keeping the compass set to the exact same radius, I pick it up and move it over so that the positions are reversed. The needle now goes into this endpoint, the other endpoint, and the pen stays at the same radius, and I swing another semicircular arc until I get this pattern, this sort of characteristic pattern that a lot of people say, oh, it looks like a fish. That's fine, you can get the fishtail pattern. Now, what we'll do is we'll use the intersection of these 2 points, the point where this arc crosses this arc, line them up using our straight edge. And you'll notice that I am not using the ruler side because I want to emphasize that this is not about measuring with units. This is about construction. And at that point, I draw a little mark to indicate where those two cross over. And it looks like it does cut the segment exactly in half. Now, if you're ever curious about whether or not you've cut the segment exactly in half, you can always take your compass and use it as calipers, in other words, as a measuring tool. However wide that is should agree with however wide that is, and we can see that it does agree. So long as you keep the same radius, you're verifying that you have the same length or the same distance between those 2 points. So it in fact has been cut in half, as close to perfect as is humanly possible if you work very carefully. So this segment now, this is a segment, has been bisected. This point is the midpoint of that segment. So that midpoint bisects the segment, divides it into 2 congruent halves, and then one further thing we can do with this point, this midpoint, is we can draw in the segment that's perpendicular, and this is called, if we mark that this is a right angle, then this segment here is known as the perpendicular bisector, because it's the segment that is both perpendicular to the original segment and it goes through the midpoint. And perpendicular, by the way, means it meets at right angles, and this symbol for perpendicular can always be used in place of the word, of spelling out the word perpendicular. So perpendicular bisector. It saves a lot of writing. Okay.